Welcome to episode 57 of the Girl About the Globe podcast. For this specific episode, I'm talking about solo travel in South America. I've spent nearly 2 years on the continent and the majority of that time was living in Colombia, but I've also backpacked around the rest of the continent except Venezuela. In this episode, I discuss ways on how to travel around the continent, itineraries, things to see, and how you're perceived as a solo female in each country. Stay tuned. Welcome to Girl About the Globe, a podcast for you, the solo female traveller, empowering women to travel solo with maximum adventure, minimum impact. South America is made up of Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, British Guyana, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Falkland Islands, French Guiana, Paraguay, Peru, Suriname, Uruguay, and Venezuela. Budget from $30 to $80 a day. Cheapest country in South America is Bolivia. Most expensive is Uruguay. Languages spoken here are Spanish, Portuguese, Dutch, English in the Falkland Islands and Guyana, and French in French Guiana. And did you know that the Amazon River is the second longest river in the world? South America is made up of Argentina, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Falkland Islands, French Guiana, Paraguay, Peru, Suriname, Uruguay, and Venezuela. South America is a melting pot of cultures and dance, from samba in Brazil to the Argentine tango. This continent has soul with a Spanish flavour. It's everything from the world's driest desert to tropical rainforests, snow-capped mountains, volcanoes and colonial towns, and it's one of the most biodiverse continents, with many high-altitude cities and towns. The Amazon runs through 7 of the 13 countries, including one of the largest, Brazil, which has a harbour fit enough to be one of the 7 wonders. Soak up some rays at Copacabana Beach, go bohemian in Santa Teresa, dance to Brazilian beats at Bahia, or just marvel at the Iguazu Falls, which are higher than Niagara Falls. Easter Island is the world's most isolated inhabited island, known for its giant Maui statues and named after the day that it was discovered. Wherever you choose to go, if you're looking for adventure and nature, travelling solo in South America is a good choice. South America is a continent that's popular with backpackers. Many women travel here without any problems. It does mainly have a macho society, so do expect some attention from males, whether it's just shouting Linda, meaning beautiful from afar, or asking you to dance. If you travel to rural areas, they may not be used to seeing a woman alone, so expect some more attention of the flattery kind. In the more developed cities such as San Jose or Medellin, you can dress how you like, as you see the local women wearing skimpy clothes, so there's no need to dress conservatively. Crime, however, is the biggest issue here, so be careful of your belongings, and if you do go off the beaten path, buddy up with other travellers or take a tour. If you travel in the lesser developed countries of Bolivia, Peru and Ecuador, you might experience a slight culture shock, especially in Bolivia, first due to its poverty and second because of its altitude. Travelling to neighbouring Venezuela is not advised at the moment due to the economical and political situation at present. Unlike Central America, South America has vast distances, and flying from country to country is not the cheapest method to get around. Although airlines operate within many countries in South America, the routes are not generally that direct. Costs can be expensive compared to flying internally within the countries, so a good tip here is to cross the borders by bus and then fly within the countries to maximise your time away. Although bus travel is the cheapest method of travelling around the continent, you do need to be cautious on some of the border routes, which are popular with robbers and are also known for being held up. So travel during the day and check travel forums if you have to travel overnight to make sure that your route is safe. If you do travel by bus, expect some routes to be a bit windy if you're going to be going through a mountainous pass. Hiring a car here isn't really advised because the traffic can be chaotic. You don't want to be driving anywhere off the beaten track by yourself. There is also the chance of being stopped by corrupt police, so use other methods of transport if you can. If you have time, taking a river cruise through the Amazon is a unique way of getting from country to country. But if you travel from Colombia to Brazil, for example, you need to allow a few days to get there. Some islands here are too far to travel by sea, so if you want to visit San Andreas, Easter Island or the Falkland Islands, you have to fly. Argentina. There is more to Argentina than the leg-flicking tango and the Falkland Islands. The Argentines enjoy good wine and fantastic steaks, and they have a passion to be proud of, not to mention stunning fjords and lakes within the Patagonia region, which they share with Chile. There is a good travellers network in Argentina and friendly locals, especially the younger generation, who are open to mixing with travellers. Just be careful of the stray dogs that hang around some of the bus stations. Travelling around Argentina. Argentina isn't that cheap to travel around, although there are airlines which offer domestic routes such as Aerolíneas and LADE. Be prepared that travelling here will eat into your budget. There are many bus companies for long distance travel and some with fully reclinable seats. If you can't afford a seat that goes all the way back, then take a semi-calmer instead, which is cheaper and still comfortable. There are tourist trains which operate along La Trojita and the Tren a la Nubes, which take you towards the Chilean border. Avoid the trains otherwise, and in towns opt for shared taxis, which operate on fixed routes and leave when full. Boats on the Patagonia side will take you into Los Glaciares National Park, Huapi National Park. Bolivia. Bolivia may be poor, but it is rich in scenery and it has the highest capital in the world. Death Road, the witches' markets in La Paz, and the blinding sight of the salt flats. Although crime is increasing, Bolivia is still one of the safest places in South America. Being the cheapest means it's popular with travellers, so you'll find plenty of others here too. Avoid taking any jungle tours alone and watch for petty thieves within markets and bus stations. Be careful at night and in Uru and on any border crossings. Steer clear of El Alto, as it is not the safest place for tourists, with robbery and pickpocketing. Travelling around Bolivia. Bolivia does have a poor road system, but the best way to get around the country is still by bus. Taking tours, especially those on a 4x4, is the best way to see the stunning landscapes in Bolivia, and necessary if you're travelling overland from Bolivia to Chile through the Atacama Desert. There are trains here, but they're generally slower than buses, and flying can be quite costly. Consider taking a tour if you don't fancy a rough bus ride. Brazil. Brazil is huge and has so much to see. If you've ever wanted to see the Christ the Redeemer statue, take a cable car across Sugarloaf Mountain, or witness the stunning Iguazu Falls, then Brazil should be on your solo bucket list. Other popular destinations apart from Rio de Janeiro and Iguazu Falls are the beach destinations of Bahia and Salvador, Fortaleza, and the tropical beaches of Recife. In a country the size of Brazil, you may not find other travellers outside of the main tourist destinations and cities, and you do need to be careful here, as it does have a high crime rate. So don't walk around with any valuables on show, and be careful at any cash points, ATMs. Take caution if you go off the beaten track, especially if you take a jungle tour with a male guide. Look for larger groups or team up with fellow travellers if you want to explore lesser trodden routes. Brazilians, however, are really friendly, but having some phrases of Portuguese will help you to get by. Travelling around Brazil. Brazil offers air passes to make the most of flying around the country. You can buy tickets within the airport or even shopping malls with LATAM. Trains offer a more scenic route than some of the bus journeys, which can be up to 36 hours in some places, but you can get different classes on buses. If you're on a budget, take an economy bus or a deluxe bus if you prefer more comfort. British Guiana, French Guiana. Both British Guiana and French Guiana aren't really tourist destinations. Georgetown, the capital of British Guiana, has a high crime rate, and although the city has some colourful colonial architecture, you probably wouldn't want to be solo here. The rest of the country offers community-based tourism, birdwatching and wildlife. Minibuses and river taxis allow you to travel through the small country of Guyana, as well as 4x4s and hire cars. But if you do visit here, you may feel more comfortable with an organised tour. French Guiana is a territory of France. Tourism infrastructure is very difficult here, and you could find yourself waiting hours for a minibus from Saint Laurent de Marandi to Cayenne, the capital. Boats take you across the river from Saint Laurent to the border of Suriname. The biggest attraction here is the Guyana Space Centre in Kourou, but you do need to book ahead for a tour in French. Hire a car if you do come here. Chile. Chile is a beautiful country. You have the Atacama Desert, the cosmopolitan capital of Santiago, surrounded by the Andes Mountains, the colourful port city of Valparaiso, the Lake District, northern Patagonia, and Torres del Paine National Park. It is a popular destination with solo females, so expect to meet others, especially in the funky area of Bella Vista in Santiago. Relax on the endless stretch of Chile's northern beaches, visit a vineyard for a Chilean Blanc, or experience the Atacama Desert, the driest desert in the world. Travelling around Chile. Chile has good overnight buses and internal flights. You can even try to get a discount on your bus ticket if you see a bus half full. Locals hitchhike here, But like anywhere, use your own discretion and follow your gut instinct if you decide to do it. Getting to Patagonia, however, is a different story. There's no direct road from Chile, so taking a flight or a boat is the only option. Although once you're there, you can sail around the fjords. Chile can be combined with Argentina if you have time. Colombia. Colombia, once declared too dangerous to travel to, is now a magical realm for tourists with Caribbean beaches, coffee plantations, and the Amazon. It's come a long way in the past decade. Medellin, Bogota, and Cartagena are among the most popular destinations here, with the Pacific coast lacking in tourism infrastructure. Although Colombia gets a bad rep in the press, the majority of areas are fine for a solo female. Safety has improved over the past decade in Colombia. If you walk around with valuables on show, you are most likely to be robbed. Avoid certain areas, especially the more remote areas, and avoid hiking by yourself. There are cases of buses being held up, so avoid night buses on particular routes, such as Bogota to Quito, and opt for travelling during the day instead. Only carry as much money as you need, and don't carry all of your credit and debit cards with you. There is still guerrilla activity within parts of the Amazon, so avoid exploring by yourself. Colombia is a beautiful country with the friendliest people, but you do need to be streetwise here. Travelling alone? In the cities of Bogota and Medellin, there is a good transport system, with both having metro and bus services. If you take a taxi, use a taxi app in Bogota and avoid hailing one on the street. In Medellin, you can take a taxi from the street. There are also colectivos, which are minibuses. Instead of taking a bus across the country, look at Viva Colombia for internal flights. Some of the roads are mountainous, so you may prefer to fly if you suffer with travel sickness. Ecuador. Ecuador may be small, but that doesn't stop it being diverse. From the colonial town of Quito to whitewater rafting in Tena, there is much to see in this land of eternal spring. Visit the Galapagos Islands for cloud forests, active volcanoes, and unique wildlife. Some solos combine Ecuador with Peru or Colombia and travel overland. Don't miss the equator line which runs through the country. You can visit this touristy spot to say that you stood at the middle of the world. Baños is also stunning, and it is for the adventure solo with whitewater rafting, paragliding, canyoning, and bridge swings. The area is lush with waterfalls, or you can trek the Quilotoa Loop for beautiful views of a crater lake, surf in Montañita, or visit the equatorial Amazon. Ecuador is relatively safe, but avoid certain areas of Quito at night. Theft does happen on the buses, so you do need to be careful at bus stations and keep your belongings close to you. The Galapagos Islands are welcoming to travellers and have a laid-back attitude, but be prepared for some friendly attention. Travelling around Ecuador. Buses are incredibly cheap in Ecuador and follow a certain route. If you want to get off the beaten track and visit a corner of the country, then you may find yourself spending hours on a bus having to backtrack. Keep your valuables on your lap in the buses too, as they are known for thieves. If you aren't taking a cruise around the Galapagos Islands, you can just fly to them instead. You can take a flight from Guayaquil or Quito and fly into Santa Cruz and fly out of San Cristobal. Once you are on the island, you can island hop with a boat. Santa Cruz is the main hub. From Loja, there are night buses down to Peru. Peru is a country steeped in fascinating history, with lush scenery and colourful traditions. Many solos visit here for the culture and the mountains. Peru also has good surf, with Mancora and Huanchaco, attracting young adventurous solos. You can learn about the Inca Empire in Peru and visit Machu Picchu, the most famous Inca ruin of them all, before visiting the ancient capital of Cusco and Lake Titicaca. There are many ruins to see here that you need at least 2 weeks to see some of the country. Then there is Rainbow Mountain, Arequipa, and the Nazca lines to explore. If you spend time in Peru, stay in Miraflores, which is less hectic and more comfortable than the rest of the city. The north of Peru doesn't have that many tourists, and part of the country are out of bounds, so check your Foreign Office website for advice, or use a tour company if you're unsure of where to travel. Not all indigenous villages will welcome you. Some remote Andean villages which live in complete isolation are not keen on visitors, so stick to the tourist route when travelling alone or hire a Quechua-speaking guide. You may find that Peru is not as friendly as other South American countries, and begging is increasing within the tourist destinations. As a solo, you may encounter stares from the locals. As in any other city, be careful with your belongings in Lima and don't walk about at night. Cusco is much safer. You may experience altitude sickness here too, so take altitude sickness tablets with you and tell others if you feel unwell. Travelling around. Buses in Peru are absolutely fantastic. Because of the long distances, it's worth taking overnight buses, which include a meal and sometimes breakfast. Sleeper buses either have a semi-calmer or calmer seats, so you have the choice of half reclining or completely flat. The buses are comfortable and safe to travel on. You may prefer to fly internally if you're short on time. Be careful if you fly from Lima to Cusco, as you could experience altitude sickness when you arrive. Allow a couple of days here to acclimatise, and the best way to see the Nazca lines is by plane. Flying to Iquitos, then taking a boat is the easiest way to explore the Peruvian Amazon. Suriname. Suriname is a Dutch colony and it's popular for its ecotourism. The capital, Paramaribo, is known for its wooden colonial buildings and it's on the UNESCO World Heritage List. You can follow the sugar trail, experience the Monego cultural traditions, or just wander around the mosque, one of the most beautiful historic monuments in the country. Most people come here to experience the Amazon way of life and stay in an eco-retreat along the river. This country is abundant in nature, and when you're ready to see the countryside, step outside the capital and take a boat ride along the Amazon River. The country attracts Dutch and European tourists because of the Dutch language. If you do venture into the villages along the river, be prepared for people to stare at you. And the capital isn't a very comfortable place to stay due to the attention of the local men who think that you're coming here searching for a Caribbean lover. If you can ignore the constant then come here independently. If not, consider taking a tour. Travelling around Suriname. Suriname is expensive due to a lack of tourists, but there is a minibus system here and 2 local airlines. The best way to get around the country is with a tour company. Once you arrive at Paramaribo, you can arrange tours from there. The private buses leave once they're full, or you can hire a car instead. Boats take you along the river to eco-lodges, and you can also take a minibus to the border of French Guiana. Uruguay. Uruguay is a small country on the continent which sometimes gets overlooked. If you're travelling to Argentina, then it's easy to combine a trip here. Montevideo is the capital, and the city is a mix of the old and the new, with Independence Square dividing both parts. Visit the Circus Palace, the Uruguayan Walk of Fame, and the theatre before heading to the beach area of Punta del Este on the east coast, with its giant hand coming out of the sand. This area has good nightlife resorts and beautiful beaches. Colonia is the oldest city in Uruguay, and its attraction is its historic quarter, a gorgeous area that sits on the coastline with cobble streets and colourful old stone houses. You can reach Uruguay from Buenos Aires on a ferry, which costs approximately $60. Once you're there, they do have an extensive bus network. Avoid hiring a car, which can be expensive, and travel any long distances by bus. You can also reach cities in Brazil from here. Venezuela. Travelling around Venezuela is currently unsafe, with any travellers only visiting Isla de Margarita, one of the islands. Outside of here, there are virtually no travellers. Highlights of South America. See the fjords in Patagonia, get inspired at Iguazu Falls on the Argentina and Brazil border, sample Argentina's wines in a winery, get spooked at the witches' market in La Paz in Bolivia, watch the wildlife on the Galapagos Islands, dance the tango in Argentina, see the Maori figures on Easter Island, watch sea turtles in Guyana, explore Torres del Paine National Park in Chile, see the salt flats in Bolivia, go cattle herding in Uruguay, stay overnight in Tirana National Park in Colombia, marvel at Angel Falls in Venezuela, relax on San Andreas Island. 7 wonders of the world in South America are the harbour of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil and the Christ the Redeemer statue in Brazil, as well as Machu Picchu in Peru. Sample itineraries for South America. 1 week, you can do Argentina and Uruguay, starting in Buenos Aires to Montevideo and then Colón. In Colombia, begin in Bogotá, fly to Medellín, fly to Cartagena, and then to Santa Marta. 1 week in Patagonia, you can begin Calafate, Glacier National Park, El Chaltén, Rio Blanco Base Camp, El Chaltén again, and then back to El Calafate. 2 weeks, you can explore Ecuador and the Galapagos Islands, begin in Quito to San Cristobal Island, South Plaza Island, North Seymour Island, Chinese Hat, Las Bachas, Santa Cruz Island, Florina Island, Española Island, Cerro Brujo, Kika Rock, San Cristobal and then Quito. 2 weeks in Brazil and Argentina, begin in Buenos Aires to Iguazu Falls, Paraty, Ilha Grande, and then Rio de Janeiro. From Peru, spend 2 weeks from Lima, fly to Cusco, see the Sacred Valley, Ollantaytambo, the Inca Trail, and then Machu Picchu. 3 weeks in South America, you can go from Argentina to Brazil, begin in Buenos Aires to Colonia, Montevideo, Iguazu Falls, Paraty, Isla Grande, and then Rio de Janeiro. Peru to Ecuador, from Lima, Paracas, Nazca, Arequipe, see the Colca Canyon, Cusco, Sacred Valley, Ollantaytambo, Machu Picchu, Cusco, Puno, Lake Titicaca, and La Paz. Or you can spend 3 weeks in the Amazon in Ecuador, beginning in Quito to Tena, Baños, Alrusi, Guayaquil, Guayas River, Pueblo López, Machila National Park, Quito, San Clemente, Otavalo, and then Quito. Spend 3 weeks in Colombia, exploring Bogota, Villa de Leyva, Armenia, Calaraca, Cocora Valley, Salento, Medellin, fly to Cartagena, Santa Marta, Tanganga, Tayrona National Park, do the Lost City Trek, and then Santa Marta. For 1 month in South America, you could combine Peru and go all the way to Brazil, begin in Lima to Paracas, Nazca, Arequipa, Chive, Colca Canyon, Cusco, Sacred Valley, Ollantaytambo, Machu Picchu, Cusco, Puno, Lake Titicaca, La Paz, Uyuni, Salt Flats, Potosi, Sucre, Santa Cruz, Puerto Suarez, Corumba, Pantanal, Bonito, Iguazu Falls, fly to Sao Paulo, Paraty, Isla Grande, and then Rio de Janeiro. Or you can spend 1 month travelling from Cartagena to Quito, beginning in Cartagena in Colombia, to Santa Marta, Lost City Trek, Taganga, Minca, Tayrona National Park, Santa Marta, Cali, Pereira, Manizales, Medellin, Bogota, fly to Quito, Cotopaxi, Otavalo, and then back to Quito. Useful websites for South America are Aerolíneas Argentinas, an Argentinian airline, LATAM Airlines, a South American airline, Navimag, which are boats to Patagonia, and Viva Air, Colombian airline with other destinations.
I hope that this episode has inspired you to visit South America. If it has, there are plenty of solo travel country guides for the South American continent on the Girl About the Globe website. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to our Girl About the Globe podcast, making solo travel easier for you. Find everything that you need for your solo travels at girlabouttheglobe.com, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.